Hi, everyone. Welcome to the mini masterclass. You've been diagnosed with cancer. Now what? I'm so excited to be here with you in a time where I know you, your loved one, family, friends could actually be going through a very difficult time. This is one of my favorite times in the treatment process to have time with you. And you may also be watching this masterclass just because maybe you don't have any loved ones, or maybe yourself, you haven't had a cancer treatment journey, anything like that, but you're here because you want to know more. You're here because you want to educate yourself. And I acknowledge you for being here for that. Today, we're going to cover several things on halting the fear, stopping fear after diagnosis. I have a guest with me. She's with me on all of my mini master classes, my big classes, my small classes. I'll introduce her in a minute. But our intention with you today is that you leave today, again, whether you're on a cancer treatment journey, whether you're a friend or family member in the journey, or you're someone who's just here to learn and educate yourself, that you leave here knowing how to confidently stand in what you desire for treatment, how to even discern or understand what confidence in treatment even means. And number three, what things to be asking yourself, what things to be asking for your family members so that you leave today with confidence and support. My name is Candace Elise Johnson. I have been a nurse since 2009. What is that? 15 years? It's a long time. Oh my goodness. 15 years, something like that. And my background is in bone marrow transplant, oncology, and hospice. I worked at Penn State Hershey Medical Center for several years, transitioned into outpatient. I ran a chemotherapy clinic, I ran a hospice division, and then I retired my official nursing career in 2020 to start my own business. And I have an alternative and holistic cancer treatment practice where I see private patients and amongst some other entrepreneurial endeavors. And I'm so excited to be here because my experience in the oncology industry was that something was missing. And you are here on this call because you also know that something's missing, that maybe your physician or the doctors that you've been working with, your oncologist, your primary care, or maybe even your family, maybe if it's even your family that is unsure of what to do. Maybe you feel forced into chemotherapy, or maybe you've heard of the traumatic experiences of being forced and fear mongered into chemotherapy, radiation, surgeries. And so, with my very good friend Renee that I have with me here, I'll introduce her in a second. Our intention is to debulk some of that fear and to take that off of your shoulders today. So, this is my incredibly wonderful friend, Renee. She's been a mentor, she's been a friend, she has an incredible actually cancer treatment journey that she'll share with you during this experience. And she is here both as an advocate for alternative and holistic cancer treatment, as well as some things that you can be doing today to begin to clean up your home, your environment, your space, so that your body is well prepared to handle the journey ahead.
Mhm.
Yes,
Um,
Renee, do you want to add anything or can we jump
Well,
in?
I do. I just want to say
Yeah.
thank you. I want to say thank you for having me. And I just love working with you, Candace, because we can take that fear, a lot of the fear away. It's never fun to get that diagnosis, but it happens. And it's happening more and more to people that we just love and care for. So, my goal is to have you have at least two takeaways in the next 30 minutes so that you can bring it back to people that are scared and where we can just help out. So Candace, again, thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks for being here. So good. Okay. All right. Number one is, well, actually, before I even start there, a friend of mine saw the last class that we did. By the way, if you would like to see any of our classes, most of them will be put on YouTube, so you'll be able to see a portfolio of them there. But after our last class that we hosted, I had someone approach me who had gone through breast cancer treatment. She had gone through the chemotherapy, she'd gone through the radiation, she'd gone through the surgery, and she said, Candace, one of the things I would recommend is how do you stop fear? How do you the appointment happens, you have the results, and you'll kind of already know because the scans are happening. How do you stop fear? Is that even possible? And I thought for a minute, and my first response was no. I can't stop it completely. There's always going to be some element of fear that's going into a decision like this. And there was also fear of making a college journey decision. There was also fear of buying a house, fear of X, Y, and Z major decisions that we have in our lives. And I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying this would be the same, but I can't tell you that I can stop the fear completely, but what we can do is we can help you pause and take a deep breath, which is the next thing I said to her is we get to pause and take a breath before any treatment options are chosen. How do we even stop and take a breath before any treatment options are chosen? And the first thing that I want to go into is education. Actually, the entire masterclass is going to be focused on education, educating yourself on what specific things you will need on this journey, what things you'll need ahead of time, what things you'll need after in order to better prepare yourself. What the physician will begin with is here is your test results. Here is the medication and treatment path that we have decided for you. You start on Wednesday at 3 p.m. That is how these calls will go. And the majority of the calls, if not all of them, based on the patients that I have been seeing very recently, is there's no chemotherapy education. They print some pamphlets out and send you home with them or tell you to Google them if you missed the class, because apparently they teach classes on this now, but there's no recording and there's no take home. If you miss the class, you're kind of up the creek. So I prepared some things to be aware of before saying yes to these treatments. What will happen? Number one is educating yourself on the amount of fear that is not real. What do I mean by that? Fear stands for either fix everything and run or forget everything and run. Excuse me. I don't say the F word, but forget everything and run. Or fear stands for false evidence appearing real. I'm going to say that again. Fear stands for false evidence appearing real. Your physician, your oncologist, hematologist, physician, surgeon, etc., whomever you're seeing that is doing this workup for you, will absolutely know their medicine. They know one type of medicine. There are several different types of medicine that are available for your treatment journey, and your physician knows of one. And because they only know of one, they have false evidence that appears real, false evidence that chemotherapy is the only way, false evidence that surgery is the only way, false evidence that radiation is the only way. Knowing this ahead of time, knowing this ahead of time is incredibly necessary because you will want the next thing, which Renee, I love that you advocate this for. So this is totally a Renee thing. I'm going to move into our next topic. Is number two, before making any treatment decisions, you want to have three to be exact, three. I was going to say second opinions, but technically it's third opinions.
Mhm.
Okay. Why this matters is because your physician only knows what your physician knows. So what they don't know is their false evidence that appears real. So your physician's fear is put onto you and on your family members. Your family members' false evidences appearing real is put onto you. So when we take a deep breath, it's getting second and third opinions. Here is what I suggest. You have one already because you're having a call with someone who's giving you a diagnostic and a plan of treatment. Number two, see another physician, different hospital, different care network, see a different physician. Number three, see a naturopathic and holistic physician. Now, not most, a lot of people will say, Candace, my insurance won't cover that. Actually, I have found a loophole on how your physician can actually cover that. You want to write this down. This will also be in the recording of the notes. If you go to your physician and you ask for a third opinion, if you ask for what's called a DO, a doctor of osteopathic medicine, your DO, doctor of osteopathic medicine, yes, they have DOs who are oncologists. They have studied some alternative treatments, not all of the ones that a naturopathic doctor would have. But if you're limited on budget, like truly, truly limited on budget, and you cannot put together the funds to go see a naturopathic doctor, then you can find in your network insurance covered doctor of osteopathic medicine who is an oncologist who can review your case. And they have done some holistic and alternative research. Before I move forward with my next step, Renee, would you like to share anything?
Well, so I am now, I was just doing the math, 16 years cancer free. So um I just I had nobody explaining this to me, but I still did it because I had a friend made me promise. She died of cancer from complications from chemotherapy. So she made me promise if I ever came down with cancer that I would get three diagnoses, and one was from a naturopath. So I can't thank you enough for saying that, but I didn't know it's a doctor of osteopath. Is that
Osteopathic medicine, DO. Yep, like do,
That's
DO.
huge. Yeah,
Yep.
that's huge. I did not know there was an actual somebody that did that, but 100%
Yes,
agree.
yes, yes,
Oh, and okay, so Candace, they're gonna make you they're gonna make you feel stupid when you're telling them you want a second opinion. They
yeah.
made me feel this big. Well, don't you trust me? And then they would go through all their credentials where I am the top, this, and this. And I'm like, but I am the top of my health and I know my body. And they gave me such a hard time when I said I wanted another opinion. So be prepared that they might get a little snarky with you when you say you want to have another opinion, but it's just say it matter of fact. And
Mhm.
it's hard not to get the emotion involved in it because you are scared or you don't know what to expect. You don't know the next thing. That's why this is so incredibly important for you guys to listen to what Candace is saying because you need to have a second and third opinion. And don't you dare let these doctors look down on you because you asked. That's the biggest thing because they tried really hard on me.
And it's their false evidence appearing real.
Yep, 100%. And
They have every evidence that says alternative. This is actually one of my points. I don't even remember what number we're on, but one of my other points to be well educated on is to know this, that there are alternative and holistic measures that work better and
yeah,
faster than chemotherapy. I have seen them in my own patient work. Renee has seen them in her own life. Renee has seen them in her own patient work.
yeah.
So we don't have a ton of time to get into all of our case studies here. Renee, I know you want to share something, but know that there are alternatives and your physician and your family members. I want to be cognizant also. I just got off a call with someone recently diagnosed with breast cancer, and she feels the fear of her family wanting her to do chemotherapy because the narrative is that there is only one way and it's chemotherapy, and that is not the only way. It's one way. And because the pharmaceutical industry is so incredibly powerful, as well as medicine, quote unquote, because of the pharmaceutical industry, and that's the way they make money, is of course it's become the most powerful, but it's not the most effective.
Right. Also, and you brought up a good point. Be selective in who you tell because you need to make your own decisions.
Yeah.
And
So good.
I did not share it with a lot of people. I come from a very large family, and I didn't share it with a lot of people in my family because I didn't want them to sway me and pressure me. It was enough for me to keep my head around learning what I had, learning how to take care of it, that I didn't need outside voices. Like you just said, they're talking at you and you want to, and especially if you're a people pleaser, then it's impossible to get the treatment that you feel is right for you. So just
Yeah.
be selective in who you tell and how fast you tell people, because they will all want to tell you what to do. So
Yes.
because they love you and they want the best for you, but they all have different ideas of what's best for you.
Yes. And they also all have different fear pathways.
Mhm.
And where this is something else to note, where the physician goes is your medical physician focuses on quantity of life. I'm going to repeat that. Your physician, your medical physician, is focused on quantity of life, not quality, quantity. I just got off a call with one of my new patients. Breast cancer family wants her to do chemotherapy because they are understanding that there is no other way. That's their only frame of reference. So the best way to know is if you've seen this video, educate anyone that you can that there are proven other ways. One thing I want to go back to and point out regarding the doctors in that could be covered by insurance. In many major cities, Colorado is one of them. San Diego is another one. I'm sure LA for sure. I haven't researched the network in LA, but I've extensively researched the San Diego and Denver, Boulder areas. Is you can look up what's called an integrative oncologist. Integrative oncologist is that's how you phonetically say it. You can Google them, and some of them are tapped into certain medical networks where they may be able to take some insurances. Integrative oncologist. Okay. The next piece that I want to go into is knowing your alternative options. Knowing your alternative options. Renee and I hosted a masterclass that actually strategically goes into several baseline alternative options that we have seen across the board work. Okay. We're not going to go into them in depth here. We're going to be hosting several other masterclasses on this. You can reach out to Renee and I. You're going to have our emails. You're going to be able to connect with us. Okay. But for the sake of this, know that there are alternative treatments that are working. I give a brief overview in the other master classes, okay? These look like supplements, different kind of scans instead of PET scans and CAT scans, different types of ozone therapy, oxygen therapy, red light therapy, good quality supplements, cleaning your home. Renee is going to touch on some of these at the end of the master class. The other thing that is very important in knowing your alternative options is this: working with someone who specifically is well versed and educated in alternative options. There is an overwhelming amount of alternative options that are working in countries like Japan, China, Germany, Italy, Greece. There's so many other options out there, and it's almost as if America has isolated itself to only pharmaceutical medicine, and that's all we can find. That is, in my experience, and a censorship issue that we have in America. And if I can say any more, it's work with someone who is well versed, like myself, like Renee, in alternative treatment options. You do not have to spend hours researching this. And that's where a lot of this fear comes from. Well, where would I even start with my options? And what if my budget is this? And where would I even go into if X, Y, and Z? And that's where working with someone like us is going to be very, very important. The other, yes,
I think so.
absolutely.
Candace, you brought it up. There's so much information out there, you guys, and this is where I highly
Mhm.
encourage you to touch base with Candace. She has done her research. She knows her stuff. You saw her history, but don't go online and just Google something, because you have to have the right websites to find the right
Yes.
thing. So
Yes.
I encourage you, don't waste your time. And the other thing that we also work a lot on is preventative. So that's a whole nother masterclass we're going to do. But a lot what we're talking about today, not only when you get the diagnosis, but it falls into what you can do beforehand too. But get the right websites. Do not waste your time. That's something you don't want to do because you just don't want to be confused. Let Candace guide you into the right sites. Because when her and I connected, I told her the sites that I was using. She goes, those are the same ones I've used. So it's really neat to know that two people coming from different areas still are relying on the same information. It's very good information.
Yes. And also, it's not just one or two sites, it's several sites.
Mhm.
The just to piggyback on that, Renee, is fact checking. You want to make sure that and to honestly to save you time, having a consultation with myself, having a consultation with I'll take this off of your hands, Renee. I know I'm more of the analytical studies person. Renee makes
Oh, so analytical. I leave that all to her and I just go to her and say, okay, where do I find this? I trust her sources. Oh my God.
Yes, so whether it's with me, whether it's with an integrative naturopathic physician, naturopathic doctor that you're working with, it's yes, it's finding the right medical research the right way and then also fact checking it. The other thing that's going to be very, very important is so we talked about knowing your alternatives, knowing your second and third opinions, knowing where to find second and third opinions. As I put this in here, is knowing your rights. We were taught in nursing school. I don't know if they teach this anymore because they have my little sisters are nurses, and when I would ask them if they learned XYZ things, they're like, "No, we didn't learn those things." So they may have tossed some of these things out. But knowing your rights, patients have rights. You have rights. What does that mean? I just got off a call with a new patient of mine, a new client of mine, and she's like, "Well, the doctors, they're just like they basically told me that if I don't do this, I'm gonna die." And they just said, "Well, I better hurry up and do it, and I better hurry up and do it. I might as well." And so she's like, I guess I'm just gonna do it." But, so that's the conversation. And she said, but I'm going to do a little bit of it. And if I don't like it and if it's uncomfortable, I'm not going to do it anymore. And I acknowledge her for being so aware of her rights with her physician and with her family. Because here's a big major factor is face to face with your doctor is one thing, but face to face with your family members is another thing because your family members love you. They've been with you for a long time. They want quantity of life. That's what their mind goes to. Mom, I want you to be here with me to walk me down the aisle. I want you, Dad, to be here with me. I want my daughter to be here. I want my grandmother to be here. And we think of those things, longevity. But what I am going to go back to, this is one of my major overarching themes, is we must change the narrative from quantity to quality. I'm not saying that you have to choose one or the other in your treatment plan, but I'm saying one must be a priority because it's going to dictate your entire treatment plan. If you're focused on quantity, aka number of days in which you will be living through this, and Renee, 16 years, she's 16 years. Would anyone that's watching this, you would agree that Renee is thriving. She looks healthy, she's vibrant, her skin color is great. If you saw this, y'all, I mean, I just want to toot Renee's horn for a minute. The woman has a travel itinerary that is in your dreams. If you dream of a travel itinerary, you need to see Renee's travel itinerary on a yearly basis. I aspire to have Renee's travel itinerary. She is living a life that she chooses, a quantity of life. Renee and I have this conversation all the time. She's not waking up in fear, wondering if the diagnosis is going to come back because she's built a confidence structure of what she is willing to accept and what she's not willing to accept. So knowing your rights is very important. You actually can tell the physician no. And when they bully you, because this happens unfortunately, so I like it hurts my heart to know that they're getting away with it. They actually can, and they stand in front of you, and I'm not. I used to think, I want to go back to my nursing experience for a minute. I used to think I was making it up. I used to think that I was taking this example and maybe this one and the other one and collectively putting a blanket of my opinions onto people about the medical industry. And as I have gone through the years, and I have worked with several patients at this point, several clients through their alternative journeys, I hear the same story every time. I didn't get any education. I have no idea what this chemotherapy is going to do, but they told me I was going to die if I didn't do it, and they told me I needed to start immediately. Wow. And we're trusting these people. No education, no like, hey, let's look at your no family communication, no what's the word I'm looking for? No sense of like treating people like people. That's the words that I'm trying to say. To treat person like someone, you want to know that you're being held. You want to know that you're being lovingly supported. You want to know that there's other alternatives. You want to know that there's other education out there. You want to know that there's other ways to look at things. But our physicians, because they're put in on pedestals and in places of power, that right that I am giving back to you in this call today is subsequently taken away, and I'm giving it back to you in this. It's the only way you're going to be able to advocate for yourself. Now, this leads me to my last topic. Renee, do you want to add anything before I move on to my last topic?
Just smiling because you use the word advocate, and that's my
I know.
that's my word.
I know.
Yeah, this is all about learning to be your own advocate for your health, for your body, for your mind, everything. And
Yes.
that's one thing I am passionate about is teaching
Yes.
people how to be their own advocate. It is not always easy. It was my doctor actually was this far from my face and said, I will see you on your deathbed. He was nasty to me. And I'm a very strong person. And I cried because he made me feel this big. So, you guys, be your own advocate. This is your life. And keep, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to go into more detail because I get very emotional, but that was literally the day I said, I will fight for myself. And I had to let my family know and this and that, that I am fighting for myself. Thank you for your input. Thank you for your suggestions, but I am fighting for myself and be your own advocate. So I thought it was really cool you used the word because that's my favorite word.
A couple of things came up for me there. Number one is if you are in a battle of advocacy, that is another purpose for having a consultation with myself because the family mediation, the physician mediation, all of those pieces, the emotional management, the stress management, those are things that I work with in my private practice with my patients to help unpack a lot of that so that I can serve as the middle ground. Because this brings me to my second point in here is when then family members go into but don't you care about me? Don't you want to fight? That's their false evidence appearing real. And oftentimes, if it's coming without a medical practitioner on the back end of it, they can't hear it. So oftentimes, I will get on a phone call with my patients, with their family members, and say, here is the medical proof that we have from a medical professional who's seen it clinically. Here is the proof that we have. This is what's possible. There are other ways. And then your family members can actually see, oh, you do care about me. You care more about me that you're willing to choose quality over quantity because you don't want the pain or the nausea, the side effects, all the things that could come with the chemotherapy, the radiation, and the surgery. My last and final, you guys, if you see me looking over to the side, I've got my electronic notes on the side of my computer. And normally I don't have notes, but there were several quick topics that I wanted to talk about in our call today. My last and final piece, and I could really, Renee knows we could be on here for 2 hours talking about this, but our intention was to keep these brief, is the importance of having the right kind of support around you. So before even booking your second, this is my suggestion. Before even booking your second and third opinions, leave the physician's office and just like Renee was saying, select be selective with who you're choosing to share this with. Have those people in your corner. Have a connection with me. Connect me with someone in your family member who needs this type of support because there's an opportunity for you to offload much of this stress, much of the decision making, much of the questions, much of the research, much of all of those things. There's also a plethora of support available in your community that you may not be aware of. Financial support, charities that could support you. There's other support measures that are available, like home care options, alternative options where there are alternatives available. There's things, if let's say you've got a great budget, there's plenty of opportunities. I know some locations in Mexico where you can go. I know some locations in Costa Rica. I know other locations in America who do holistic and alternative treatment options. So that is my last piece on yeah, that's all of the steps that I have. I'm like looking through my notes. Is that everything? Yes. So that's my last piece. I want to toss it over to Renee. Renee is going to go over some seriously hot nuggets to wrap up our call.
Thank you, Candace. I just wish I would have had you in my pocket 16 years ago. So I learned a lot by trial and error. So what I'm excited is that we're able to share our experiences and get to help people. A couple topics that I just want to talk about you for everyone is how well one big one, just straight into the point. You get a diagnosis, first thing you need to do is get chemicals out of your house. Anywhere from any products that you use that you put on your body, people do not realize how many chemicals are just in laundry soap. And I do have different vendors that I do work with. I'm happy to share them with you. Just let me know and I'll set up an appointment. But the other thing is the state of confusion on supplementation also. Okay, I honestly can say I am now an expert at supplementation. I've been working with it 20 years. My son was born with a severe autoimmune. You guys, cancer boils down to when your immune system is compromised. The cancer cells grow. We all have cancer cells. So, this is the stuff that I work with you on nutrition. There's certain supplements if you need to build your immune system, you need to have a certain type of supplements, pharmaceutical grade, hands down, nothing bought from the store. And you want to know where they're made, how they're made. You want to make sure they're safe and there's no pesticides or any additives. So that is where I can honestly say I am an expert and I can guide you through it. And again, partnering with Candace is just a dream of mine because everything she talked about, I remember the fear. I remember having to stick up for myself. I remember wanting to please my whole family and do what they all wanted me to do. But I said, I have to be my own advocate. So I just want to say, if you're taking anything away from me, chemicals off your body, shower gel, shampoos, all of that, let me know. I will let you know the best companies out there to get that from. But number two, be your own advocate. And Candace, I loved that you will sit on a phone and do a family call. That's priceless. That would have helped me so much because I had to have all individual conversations and try to explain stuff to people. Well, I'm not a scientist. I don't want to be. So you would have been very helpful for me, but I got through it. But boy, it took every ounce of energy, and we have to keep our energy for ourselves when we get a diagnosis. We have to protect our own sense of common sense as well as just taking care of our minds because it is difficult. So with that, Candace, I'm going to give it back to you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here, and anybody I can help, I am there with the snap of the fingers.
Yes, so good. So that is it for our master class. I know that was short, sweet, and to the point, but also a lot of information. Just to do a quick recap, our entire intention here, and I hope that this was supportive for you to eliminate some of the fear that you could be having. Again, false evidence appearing real. If you haven't learned anything on this master class, I know you've at least learned that acronym. The false evidence appearing real, and that actually has decreased since being on this call today, that you are aware that there are other alternatives, that you are aware that you get to have multiple different second and third opinions, one coming from an integrative naturopathic physician, how to find one in your network, how to have the right support around you, keeping cleaning chemicals and having the right supplements in your home to improve your immunity so you can get through this, as well as knowing and trusting that there are not only alternatives that are viable, even more viable and effective at treating your cancer journey, your journey, is that there are things out there that work. You don't need to have the chemicals. You don't need to have the radiation. You don't need to have the surgery. There are other things that work. I've done the research. Renee has done the research, and we are here to support you in that. And one last and final for the recap: quality over quantity. If you take another one big hit from this masterclass, is quality over quantity when choosing your treatment journey. If you would like to reach out to Renee or I, please feel free to send us a message. Our emails will be in the show notes, in the comments section, wherever you're seeing comments or show notes where this is recorded. And please don't forget to follow us on our respective social medias. Those will also be in the comments, and we'll be letting you know when we have our next master classes.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.